After his quest to retrieve the orb and the sceptre, the rightful ruler has returned. But all is not well in the city of Irsmuncast nigh Edge, for an army of foes, spawn of the rift, have risen up and assaulted the city. Not only that, but rumour has it they are marshalled by one ancient foe, an old enemy. Sorcerak, the leader of the Legion of the Sword of Doom, has brought death and destruction to this fair city, and it is up to the ruler to defend it. But he is no mere mortal politician. This is Avenger. He is ninja, and he follows the way of the tiger. I am Ninja. My parents are the heaven and the earth. My home is my body. My power is loyalty. My magic is training. My life and my death is breathing. My body is control. My eyes are the sun and the moon. My ears are sensitivity. My laws are self-protection. My strength is adaptability. My ambition is taking every opportunity with fullness. My friend is my mind. My enemy is carelessness. My protection is right action. My weapons are everything that exists. My strategy is one foot in front of the other. My trust is in quality. My way is the way of the tiger. Hello everybody, I'm Raphael Perry and it's time for some more of The Way of the Tiger. And before we get stuck right in, let's see, where are we? I have Old Books, Book 5, Warbringer. I've blatantly copied in the character sheet from the last book. And we're going to do things a little bit differently. First off, I'm going to go on a little tangent and talk about something that came out the year after this. So, text copyright 1986, right? Illustrations copyright 1986, first published by Night Books 1986. Around a similar time, Mark Smith and Jamie Thomson published the Duel Master series of game books. There was The Challenge of the Magi, which came out in 1986. These are all set in the world of Orb, and these are two-player game books, right? One player plays one book, the other player plays the other. And there's an instruction to wait until the next player is ready to move on. And you play against each other, right? Book 2 was Blood Valley. Again, yeah, fine. I think I had Challenge of the Magi. It takes place in a number of magical realms. You teleport around from world to world until you eventually face each other, and you have a number of spells at your disposal. And it's a duel between two magicians. Blood Valley, I think I might have seen this book on the left, but I'm not sure. Arena of Death, I had both books, again. And this actually takes place in the arena from Book 1 of Way of the Tiger. And there are some chambers below the arena, and in one of those is the illusionist, Thomson.
who we met in Book 2 of Way of the Tiger. And I believe we'll get to meet him again at a later point. However, most importantly of all, in 1987, the year after, came The Shattered Realm, in which you play leaders, princes, princesses, kings, queen, I can't remember, in a fantasy civil war. And you started by going around gathering allies to form your army, and then faced off in a battle against one another. I'm saying that because there's a very similar theme here in Warbringer, except this is part of the Way of the Tiger series and ongoing storyline, as opposed to a standalone game on its own. I might have only had one of these two. I'm not certain. Anyway, I thought I'd bring those out, show people, go, oh, look, because if you're familiar with the Duel Master series, you might look at it and go, oh yeah, that is the same authors and a similar sort of adventure, just with more generic royal characters, and not a ninja. So here we are. We've completed the previous book. We did quite well. There were one or two rather unfortunate incidents, but those notwithstanding, we did okay. I've literally copied the character sheet over, so we have only 5 endurance points left, 1 point of inner force, no shuriken. I think we're going to be required to throw shuriken right near the beginning of this book, which we will not have, and we'll have no option not to, but I could be mistaken. Anyway, let's dive into the background. Of course, some of this is familiar, but it's a nice little recap. It refreshes our memory of what's gone in the books before, and also reintroduces us to the current situation as things stand. On the magical world of Orb, alone in a sea that the people of the Man March call endless, lies the mystical island of tranquil dreams. Many years have passed since the time when, as an infant, you first saw its golden shores and emerald rice meadows. A servant brought you, braving the distant leagues of the ponderous ocean, from lands to which you have never returned, except now we have. Your loyal servant laid you, an orphan, at the steps of the Temple of the Rock, praying that the monks would care for you, for she was frail and dying of a hideous curse. In fact, we return to those lands in Book 3. Monks have lived on the island for centuries, dedicated to the worship of their god Quan. He who speaks the holy words of power, supreme master of unarmed combat. They live only to help others resist the evil that infests the world. Seeing that you were alone and needed care, the monks took you in and you became an acolyte at the Temple of the Rock. Nothing was made of the strange birthmark shaped like a crown which you carry on your thigh, though you remember that the old servant insisted that it was of mystical importance. The most ancient and powerful monk of them all, Naijishi, Grand Master of the Dawn, became your foster father. He gave you guidance and training in the calm goodness of Quan, knowledge of men and their ways, and how to meditate so that your mind floats free of your body and rides the winds in search of truth. From the age of 6, however, most of your time has been spent learning the way of the tiger. Now you are a ninja, a master of the martial arts, and a deadly assassin who can kill the most powerful enemies unseen and unsuspected. Like a tiger, you are strong, stealthy, agile, patient in the stalking of prey, and deadly. In the land of plenty and the Man March, the fabled ninja known as the Men with No Shadow are held in awe. The mere mention of ninja strikes fear into people's hearts, but you are one of the few who worship Quan and follow the way of the tiger. You use your skill as a bringer of death to rid the world of evildoers. At an early age you hung by the hands for hours on end from the branches of trees to strengthen your arms. You ran for miles, your light-footed speed enough to keep a 30-foot ribbon trailing above the ground. You trod tight ropes as agile as a monkey. Now you swim like a fish and leap like a tiger. You move with the whisper of the breeze and glide through the blackest night like a shade. Before he died, Nagishi taught you the ninja's covenant. I will vanish into the night, change my body to wood or stone, sink into the earth and walk through walls and locked doors. I will be killed many times, yet will not die, change my face and become invisible, walk among men without being seen. It was after your foster father Nagishi's death that you began to live the words of the covenant. A man came to the island, Yaemon, Grand Master of Flame. Using borrowed sorcery, he tricked the monks into believing that he was a worshipper of Quan from the great continent. He was indeed a monk, but he worshipped Quan's twisted brother, Vile, who helps the powerful to subdue the weak, and wicked men to rule fools. Yaemon slew Nagishi. No one could match him in unarmed combat, and he stole the scrolls of Ketsuin from the temple. Once more you knew the pain of loss, for you had loved Nagishi as a father. You swore an oath to Quan that one day you would avenge his death, and you were avenged. You slew Yaemon, and you learned of your ancestry. Now you are king of the City of Irsmuncast. You gathered advisors around you and passed many new laws, some popular, others less than popular, but you managed to govern the city, playing one faction off against another until Irsmuncast came under attack. Not for nothing is the city named Irsmuncast Nigh Edge. Its location at the eastern edge of the Man-March, the lands of men, means that whenever the hosts of evil spew forth from the bowels of Orb, the great rift that scores the world like a black pit on a rotten fruit, it is likely that Irsmuncast will be the city they fall upon in search of new slaves. In their search for new slaves. Also, we have a of, not an in, not an on. In, not on, yes. And so it was early in your reign. The army repulsed them once, but prompted by your god Quan the Redeemer, you set out on a quest to recover the orb and sceptre which are the traditional emblems of your family's rule. The quest was successful, but when touching the sceptre transported you magically back to the battlement tower of the palace, a terrible sight met your eye. The city was wreathed in smoke, torched by the evil hordes from the rift. As you stared in disbelief, a great black raven, ever a bird of ill omen, brought you a message which it dropped from its yellow beak. It was from your old adversary, Sorcerak, Lord of Doomover and leader of the dreaded Legion of the Sword of Doom. He once tasted the blood of Nil at your hands, but his strong body, hardened by the rigours of campaigning, withstood that most potent of poisons. He has sworn revenge, and the message which you still hold in your tired hand could hardly be more dire. Avenger, an old score shall be settled. The Legion of the Sword of Doom shall conquer the city of Irsmuncast and bring its people into slavery. I swear by Sorcerak to kill you with my own hands. Sorcerak. As Glavis, the Ranger Lord, once told you, the Legion is one of the most feared armies on Orb. The warriors worship the war god Vash Ro, he who sows the Reaper, and they spread fear about them in battle like a pall. As things stand, you do not even have a city to defend. Your people may all be slaughtered or carried off to the slave pits of the Rift. You must try to regain control of the city at all costs, unless it is already too late. Turn to Section 1. There's no rules, no guidance for players for whom this may be their first book of the series. This is quite unusual. The general assumption would therefore be, now this isn't like, is it Dark Vein Prophecy, the fighting fantasy book where the rules are introduced, the stats are introduced as you need them. You just go straight in and then you're in a cave and part of the ceiling collapses and you take some damage, so you have to generate your initial stamina, then apply some damage, and then you can, heal up later. And then, a bit further on you need skill or luck and you generate that, and so essentially and then it gives you the combat rules when you get into your first fight. There's a sort of linear section at the beginning where it's like a tutorial, so you get straight into the action. That doesn't happen here. you're just assumed to know all the rules already. So what I'm going to do now is turn to my left and pick up a physical book, because the reprints handle this somewhat differently. It's all the same up to the end of the introduction, unless it is already too late. However, we then get a full-page colour map of the City of Irsmuncast, all by Leo Hartus, who did lots of the Fighting Fantasy maps back in the day. Then there's a very important section of special rules for this book, and then all the usual combat rules that you might not know had you not played any of the previous books. Skills, things to prepare you if you are a new player. I will read the special rules for this book section. I'm going to skip the definitions of Shinren and Yubijutsu because they are the same. If you have not played and successfully completed Book 4, Overlord, in the Way of the Tiger series, then you begin this book with the equipment and skills listed. If you have successfully completed Book 4, then you should continue with the same character. Simply transfer all the information on your original character sheet to the one given here. So far, so good. You will carry 5 shuriken again, and your endurance and inner force will have been restored, although if you were tainted by the sorcery of an amulet of Nulak, then you have a maximum of only 4 inner force. You also continue Book 5 with any special items you may have picked up in your adventures. Well, yeah, they'll be on the character sheet you're transferring over. And do not forget to transfer all your punch, kick, etc. modifiers to your new character sheet. While adventuring in Book 3, Usurper, you may also have learnt one of the following 2 superior skills taught by the grammar, and that is Shinren and Yubijutsu. We then have the combat rules, the skills, starting equipment, skills, everything a new player would need. Now, I'm not sure that I entirely agree with a full restoration of health, inner force, and throwing stars. There are 2 very important factors at work here. So we've just been teleported back to the castle as soon as we picked up the sceptre and the orb. There was no mention in the description of the teleportation of any sort of restorative abilities. We did get health restored at the end of Book 1 when we had recovered the Scrolls of Ketsuin, and that was a major relic, a special moment, and the god himself saw fit to bestow upon us this power. This doesn't feel like it quite merits that. However, we've got 5 endurance points left, and it seems like there's a battle going on, and we're going to have to do a significant amount of fighting quite early on, take a lot of risks, and there may be incidents where we will be expected to receive damage without having any chance. I don't mean being hit by enemies, I mean like you run into a room, you fall into a pit trap, take 4 points of damage or something like that, right? So the 2 obvious concerns here are gameplay balance and immersion, right? Does it completely break our immersion to have these abilities restored? And by not restoring them, we are clearly at a significant disadvantage compared to a player who is playing a new character that hasn't played any of the series so far. So, new character would not have access to... They just have 5 skills. They wouldn't have access to Shinren or Yubijutsu. They wouldn't have any of these special items except for the sceptre and the green orb. I'm going to assume that the authors intended these fixes because the reprints include a number of other fixes by the authors. However, I will pay attention to how long it is until I'm able to heal, and if I take 5 or more points of damage before then, it may matter significantly. Now, in the comments section, someone suggested that they would play this in the same condition they were in at the end of Book 4, but restore full health fully when they get to the first proper place where they get a chance to rest, even if that may not be written in at that point. There's a point where the flow of the adventure relaxes and it's a suitable resting place, which is not the way that it initially begins. I'm not sure I can get quite that far with only 5 endurance points and 1 inner force and no throwing stars. It may be very, very difficult indeed. Now, in Book 6, we are told to restore the Blood of Nil, possibly the Spiderfish Venom and Flash Powder as well at that point, as they are fairly more mundane, but haven't been told to you yet. We don't particularly need them yet. We'll see how things go. The smoke from the burning city obscures the scene. It is difficult to make anything out from your lofty vantage point at the top of the palace. There is no sign of Force Lady Gwyneth, nor of the Irsmuncast army. You have no way of knowing whether all resistance has been crushed or whether there is still hope of turning the tide. The orb and sceptre are heavy in your hands. You have no idea whether they hold potent magic that will aid you, or whether they are mere baubles, no more than the symbols of the overlordship which you have lost. Will you descend the staircase into the palace, or examine the orb and sceptre on the battlements? I will take some time to take a closer look at these items that I have discovered. The sceptre bears the hippogriff mouth. The sceptre bears the hippogriff insignia of your family, but neither it nor the orb bears any inscription, nor any obvious means of activation. It would take a powerful magician to unravel their secrets for you, if indeed they hold any. The emerald orb is about the right size and shape to fit into the hollow eye socket where your left eye once was, the eye you lost battling the Grandmaster of Shadows in the mountains of undying solitude. If you would like to try and fit the green orb into the socket, do so. If not, I think I will take this opportunity because there's a section in Book 6 where Cassandra gouges the green orb out of your eye socket and plans on placing it into one of her own, even though she has 2 healthy eyes at the time. So clearly it can be inserted into the empty eye socket, and maybe it even has some additional function, like allowing us to see invisible things. Some reason why she would actually want to do this, right? So we will give it a go. I've only played this book once when I was about 15 or 16 years old, so that would have been like 1992, maybe 93, possibly 94. In other words, so long ago that it would be a miracle if I can remember anything. I remember that we do get to gather an army and fight a pitched battle against Honoric and the Legion of the Sword of Doom and his allies. And we get a number of updating maps as the situation on the battlefield changes. And I will put all of my years of wargaming experience into use. Generally, it's it's fairly instinctive judgment calls, and it's reasonably, most of them are sort of common sense decisions during a battle, generally. And we've got a bloody great big picture of the Mind Flayer on the front cover, and a bloody great big picture of Avenger riding a horse with some kind of large ornate, I want to call it a sceptre, that looks, look, that's more like a sceptre, more like a mace. The thing on the new book is like twice as long with a sort of Y-shaped tip and side branches and stuff. It's, but riding towards a giant Mind Flayer while it casts lightning bolts down around the horse. So a very similar image. Although the Mind Flayer on the reprint is like off to the side, casting down like that, rather than central. I think this kind of works a little bit better as an image to catch eyes on the shelf. Anyway. So, Mind Flayer, evil army, trying to survive. Put green orb in eye socket before I forget. The emerald orb seems to glow threateningly as you raise it to your empty eye socket. It slides neatly into place, and the flesh around it begins to creep so that the orb is being sucked into place within your head. Will you tear the orb out before it is too late, or leave the emerald to embed itself? I will let it do what it's doing. I've already lost the eye. The only way this could get worse is if it keeps going and burrows its way into my brain and kills me or something. So, yeah, I probably shouldn't have said that. I see stuff there I probably shouldn't look at. And that implies I may need to walk unseen among the enemy camp and spy upon them. And we see a massive tally of more stuff there. I see Force Lady Gwyneth's name. Again, we have sections in places that it might not be wise to see them quite this early. So, 353. Saying it out loud slightly increases the chance of it being remembered. Cold panic grips you as you feel your flesh knitting around the orb, which is soon firmly embedded in your eye socket. The emerald presses in, causing a sudden pain in your head, but this soon ceases. Running your hands over your face, you can feel that it has taken position just as if it were a translucent green eyeball. The severed muscles of your old eyeball regrow until you are surprised to realize that the green orb moves in your head, just as your real eye does. Then the whole world turns a ghostly green. You are seeing through the orb. Opening one eye at a time allows you to see a normal world, or a green world of ghostly planes and visions which are superimposed on reality. There is the sound of uncouth orcish voices on the staircase below. Now, before we go any further, I'm going to pick up this physical copy of the reprint again. Because in Book 4, we were told, when we lost an eye, to subtract 1 from all combat modifiers until we were able to find a way to replace the eye. In the reprint, after the words superimposed on reality, before there is the sound of uncouth orcish voices, we have a sentence in bold. Note on your character sheet that you see through the orb of kings, and if you have played Book 4 Overlord, then restore your lost modifiers. Now, it is entirely possible that I as a player may have forgotten that restoring or replacing the eye would restore my lost modifiers. I blatantly have not, but it's nice to have a reminder in the reprint in case a new player had forgotten this. And I'm replacing our fate modifier because it did say all modifiers. Now, there is the sound of uncouth orcish voices on the staircase below. Will you leap down to do battle? Or, if you have the skill of climbing, you may wish to climb down the outside of the palace tower to the smoke-obscured gardens below. Usually, climbing is a good thing. However, in this case, climbing is slow, will be visible. The last time we tried to climb, someone shot a crossbow bolt at us, and fortunately we were able to deflect it. There's smoke of battle, but it's daylight, right? And that was at night when we tried to climb. There's a whole army below in active battle, meaning, yes, they're distracted and very focused on the battle, but they're also in a state of high alertness, looking out for danger. It's not like at the beginning of Book 2, where we only had to crawl past, you know, a few guards on duty who weren't expecting any trouble. So I'm going to leap straight down to fight, taking courage from my renewed health and vision. Also, they won't be expecting this. They don't even expect... Well, they don't know where I am. They may be searching for me. However... What the fuck is this? This looks bad. As you leap down the staircase and turn the corner to the hallway outside the throne room, a host of orcs shrink back before you. But something is wrong. They are not so much in fear of you as deferring to another being whose ponderous tread you now hear mounting the stairs towards the hallway. It's a Balrog! They pull back still further and a dark shadow looms up towards you. If you would like to retreat to the palace roof, and if you are skilled at climbing, descend that way. That seems like a really good idea. You may stand your ground, ready to fight whatever may appear. I believe climbing here is a trap, and we should not do it. Imp only appeared as Mardol, but your problem is... So, imp, elusive imp, possibly illustration, right. So, we'll fight whatever comes, but it will not be safe and it will not be easy. Here we go. A great grey-skinned cave troll, 3 meters tall, rounds the corner and stands uncertainly before you. The orcs all point at you and say, "Enemy!" Whereupon the troll's face cracks open in a horrible grin, and it begins twirling around, its head a huge brazen club with black spikes. If you'd like to wipe the smile from its face using a shuriken, or we could depend... Yeah, we can give it a try. Since we have some, once again. Watch me fail miserably, or at least make the attempt. The shuriken is hurtling towards the troll's warted face long before it even realizes what is happening. Make a shuriken roll. The troll's defense is only 4. So, basically, don't roll a double 1. Six, higher than 4. And again, we need to beat... We don't need to beat defense, we just need to... Yeah, no, we need to get 1 higher than defense to hit, don't we? Yeah. So, 5s. We absolutely succeeded. So that's got to be a good start. It might even prevent a fight entirely. The throwing star has buried itself in the troll's face before it has even begun to realize what is happening. It staggers but does not go down. Its vision is impaired, however, and you may increase your defense by 2 during your battle with the grey warted troll. It is also wounded. Roll 1 die and subtract result from a cave troll's endurance of 20. Bloody hell. Okay. If this fight could be avoided by climbing, then that would have been a rather wise choice. I am changing this to green orb kings and left eye socket. 42 choose path. Well, that must have happened previously. Okay. Not free. Here we go. Okay. We'll use the Leaping Tiger Kick, the Quan's Flail Kick if you were taught it by Grandmaster Togawa on Mount Gualodrun, the Iron Fist Punch, or the Whirlpool Throw. The Whirlpool Throw. Against a troll, that might actually almost work. I'm going to risk it and hope it's not a mistake with all these orcs nearby. Because throw then strike used to be very good in this series. It hasn't worked so well in this playthrough. Our first auto kill. The troll waves its club menacingly as you step within range. It strikes, but you spin aside and grapple its thick waist. The troll's momentum carries it forward, and you succeed in toppling it over, but it twists and powerfully changes the angle of its club so that you are pinned beneath its bulk. It gouges the club's spikes into your back, and just as you are squirming free, two of the spectating orcs scurry forwards and bury their swords in you, killing you instantly. Awesome, that was quick. Okay, so we'll go back to the beginning and do it again. Wow. 353, I believe, was... Oh, goodness. Company, yeah. I mean, we could try climbing, right? But first, hang on. 247 to climb. 233 to go down and face the troll. Going back up to climb down is now 393 and not 237. So let's see, if I turn around to run back up, the orcs might shoot at me. The troll may not be able to pursue up the stairs, but the orcs might... So do not try to throw the troll. Okay. But try to throw a ninja star at the troll. We'll give that another try. That wasn't the greatest start to this book, was it? Okay. 379, so it's just a couple of pages up. Here we go. Oh, it's not. Okay. Yep. And 1 for damage. Same 4 as before. I'll take it. Okay. So we have succeeded in throwing a ninja star at the troll. It's a troll. It had 20 endurance points. It's going to be a tough fight. However, we'll go Quan's Flail Kick because it's a fun one. It's a roundhouse kick, basically, isn't it? And we have the extra protection, but we can afford to risk a few slightly risky moves. The grey-skinned troll lumbers forwards, brandishing its great club. It's about 3 meters tall and almost as broad as the doors to the throne room. You wait motionless, as if paralyzed with fear, until it is about to strike. Then, in a blur of movement, you whirl like an iron-coiling spring and lash out a devastating, powerful Quan's Flail Kick at the surprised beast. Its defense against the Quan's Flail Kick is 6, and our kick modifier, I believe, is +2. And just to verify that, I have to scroll all the way back up to the top of the character sheet. Yes, it is +2. There we go. 8 + 2 is 10. Excellent. Kick damage is just 1d6 plus 2, so we clear 5 points. Knocks Patrol down to 9 endurance. Obviously... No, 11. Obviously Patrol is still alive. You must now avoid a great sweep of its spiked club. Your defense as you dodge its cumbersome blow is 5. That's a really low defense. A cumbersome blow should be easy to dodge. Ah, well. So our defense is 7. Patrol has rolled a 6. That is lower than an 8. We are not struck. Clearly, Quan's Flail Kick may not be the best option against this troll. It's doing 2d6 damage as well, so we really don't want to get hit. Leaping Tiger Kick. Sure, we'll give it a try. Go for the face. Defense is 6, 8. Okay, so our defense against this troll is generally quite low. I think we need to be using Inner Force to try and end this fight quickly. So I'll do that here. The great grey cave troll sneers at you and shakes its club. The club's black spikes are already dripping with blood, which the troll wishes to mix with your own. As it tries to smash you, you leap high and drive the ball of your foot towards its chest, but the troll's reach is long and it may catch you with the club. The troll's defense against the leaping tiger kick is 1 better, but our defense against the retaliation is also 1 better, and we have a +2 kick modifier. Absolutely, and I did say I was going to use Inner Force here, and I meant it. I didn't mark it off, I should have done that. It's just, you know, bookkeeping. So, I can't reduce them, I can only increase, so clear. D6 plus 2, doubled. 2 4s are 8. Troll goes down to 3 endurance points and continues fighting us. And this isn't one of those fights where we just have to lower its endurance enough. The troll lumbers forwards and tries a cunningly low sweep with its club designed to knock your legs from under you. Well, I suppose I do keep kicking it. Your defense against this whistling blow is to leap high to avoid it. As you leap high to avoid it is 6, so our defense is 8. The troll rolls an 8, which meets our defense. It does not beat our defense, so we are not hit. Because remember, in this series, you need to roll over the defense to score a hit. It's not a target number. It's a this is how low you can roll and still miss number. If you're still alive, I think we just need a hit. Quan's Flail Kick. Oh! There's no Quan's Flail Kick option anymore. It was just an opener. Unless we really fancied our chances of just using it repeatedly with that defense of 5 against retaliation. So we'll go Leaping Tiger Kick once again. A 10 absolutely strikes the troll. And incidentally, 5 damage takes the troll down. We have suffered no damage this fight. But with only 5 endurance remaining, this would have been a ridiculously difficult fight to do with such a low defense against the troll's retaliatory strikes. With the troll defeated, we turn to section 19 and go, oh shit, there's a load of orcs in here. Hopefully they're going to run away in panic now that we've killed their troll. The troll's body smashes to the floor and you whirl to face the spectating orcs. They blench. Is that blanche? Should be blanche, right? They blanch and almost fall over themselves in their haste to get out of your way. They fear to chance their arms against a troll slayer. The grey, warty skin of the troll ripples unnaturally, and your own skin crawls as the troll's oozes slowly over the bared bones to reknit, leaving ugly purplish blotches where once the flesh was rent. Patrol will soon be recovered, so you decide to pursue the orcs, hoping to escape the palace before they are rallied by some other powerful denizen of the rift. Well, since I've still got a physical copy here, section 19... No, it says blench here as well. Bizarrely, the bizarre made-up blench word has not been replaced or corrected. Interesting. Maybe I'll look it up afterwards. For now, though, you decide to pursue the orcs, hoping to escape the palace before they are rallied by some other powerful denizen of the rift. That sounds like a great idea. You meet no further resistance, casually almost knocking aside 2 orcs left behind in the stampede, until you reach the steps to the great gateway of the palace itself. Unfortunately, one of the orcish chieftains, using the foulest language you have ever heard, curses his orcs for cowards and rallies them. What he says is obviously a lot less polite than "curse you, you cowards." There'll be a lot of rather coarse 4-letter words in there, I imagine. Even more ominously for you, he has called up reinforcements, a company of orcs armed with crossbows. Will you risk a feigned attack, instead leaping high over their heads and vanish into the smoke-filled palace row, or hold up the sceptre and command the orcs to bow down to the rightful overlord of Irsmuncast? Here's the thing. The sceptre may have some power to compel subjects to obey. These are not subjects. They are absolute enemies who despise and hate and loathe everything the sceptre stands for. I do not think they will be susceptible. More importantly, they have a commander rallying them and urging them on to hate. I don't think this is the right option right now. So, 107 it is. Only 2 of the orcs react quickly enough to discharge their crossbows before you are sailing above their heads in a leap of supernatural proportions. If you have the skill of arrow cutting, I absolutely do, because I don't want to get hit by crossbow bolts. It has proved to be one of the best skills in the series so far. The crossbow bolt speeding towards you is a blur of speed. Speeding towards you is a blur of speed. What a sentence. Okay. The crossbow bolt speeding towards you is a blur of speed, but even before its shrieking whine has been perceived by the orcs, you have drawn up your legs out of the way and swept it from its path with a sweep of your iron-rodded sleeve. It buries itself in the back of an unfortunate orc, but you have sprinted off into the haze of smoke and distanced yourself from pursuit in a twinkling. We made it out. Into the city, I think. Oh goodness. More orcs. Fires rage everywhere. The bodies of your townsfolk litter the streets and the gutters run with blood. Your people have not given up their city without a struggle, but everywhere you look there are orcs. Orcs sporting the emblem of a woman's head cut off at the neck, dripping blood. The orcs of the severed head like nothing more than looting, despoiling and pillage. You are close to despair, forced many times to hide in the shadows as groups of orcs rush out of houses, waving treasures, heirlooms of the families whose blood stains their moors blacker than night. At last you come to the windmill tower on Seven Post Road. An easy climb. Hanging beneath one of the windmill's great sails, you survey the city. I mean, if ever there was a time for the Temple of Time to come to our aid, it would be now. We taxed them lightly, not heavily, so they haven't turned against us. We didn't give them a place on the city council. They've remained fairly neutral. Page 55, turn to section 55, which is obviously not on page 55, but that's kind of funny. I mean, yeah, the turn 2 is on page 56, but right. The noise of chaos is all around. Screaming, fighting, the sounds of orcs and of men in pain. A bugle call rises stridently above the clash of arms, and the cries of the wounded bring new hope. The great onion-shaped silhouette of the Temple of Time stands out blacker than the darkness, and for the first time you notice an orderly array of torches in the great sundial square before it. Casting off the horse over checks for turning of the windmill, you cling to the sail and it carries you high above the highest roof. Drop unseen onto a gilded gable and leap from rooftop to rooftop until you look down at the gathering in the square. What you see gladdens your heart. Some of our allies must have survived. In the centre of the Square of Seasons is Force Lady Gwyneth, swordswoman par excellence and high priestess at the Temple of Dharma, sword mistress of the gods. Clustered around her, holding aloft flaming torches, are about 200 of her soldiers, mostly heavily armoured swordswomen, some, like her, still on horseback. Townsfolk too are there, and that what looks like the remnants of a city militia head by the fanatical demagogue who even now exhorts him to fight on. Even though we didn't let him have his militia, he's clearly formed one in our absence. I imagine, at very short notice when the attack came, rather than against our express orders. For to surrender is to die! Greystaff too, the High Priest of the Temple of Avatar, the One, the Supreme Principle of Good, is there, with perhaps a score of his priesthood, who are using their healing magics on the Shield Maidens. Gwyneth calls for silence, and you choose this moment to descend to the paving of the square and go amid your people once again. There is a resounding cheer as you are recognized. Your miraculous appearance seems to have given them new hope, nothing to do with Star Wars. Gwyneth tells you that scattered pockets of resistance still remain. The mercenaries under Antosidas the One-Eyed have refused to throw their lot in, with the spawn of a rift and still hold the barracks. Gwyneth has retreated to the Temple of Time to plead with the priests to use their potent spellcraft in the fight against evil, but the doors to the Snowfather's temple remain barred. Her overtures have been rebuffed. Now you must plan with her a strategy for hitting back against the forces of evil, who, feeling the battle is already won, have become scattered and fallen to looting. The enemy is concentrated around the palace under the command of Shadazar, whose infamous deeds have made her one of the few dwellers in the rift to be known by name. Greystaff lays the hands of excellent healing spell on you, and your wounds heal magically. Restore your endurance to 20. Okay, that's great. So now the only issue we have is the one ninja star that we used, because that could have been our last point of inner force. Fighting the troll without it could have been very tricky. But we do get a total heal here, so it's just a matter of surviving the troll. I don't know if the climbing skill would have got us here without fighting the troll or not. Will you march now down the Avenue of Seasons and give battle in Palace Row, or take a route through the part of the city that has not yet fallen and try to unite with Antosidas the One-Eyed? Well, he's refused to join the spawn of the rift, which is interesting. He was the mercenary bodyguard of the merchant who betrayed us, right? So he has some loyalty to the city. I will refer to the map. The map which is not present here. This is just world map, right? But to the... I mean, I've got a full colour, full size, like a poster map of the City of Irsmuncast that came with these books. But for now... So, Palace Road leads from the palace to the green, past the halls of Giantis, towards the Temple of Avatar and Temple of Quan. That would be marching directly into the enemy army with our heavily depleted and wounded and exhausted force, or take a route through the part of the city which has not yet fallen. Mercenary barracks are below the... Right, so hang on. Where is book 3? because I can do this on the screen, approximately. The map. $161. So Palace Row is here, mercenary barracks are over here. The Temple of Nemesis is here. The courts are here. River of Beast Inn is down here. We went there in book 3. Temple to Dio. D-E-O, not D-I-O. Now, most importantly, we're at the Temple of Time. We can go all the way across to here and down there, or we can just go straight down here. There is a connecting road from the Avenue of Seasons to Belfry Row? Yeah, Belfry Row, to the barracks. And then Barracks Row connects to the Palace Road. I mean, the mercenaries owe us no particular allegiance. They're not particularly loyal to us, but they might understand and appreciate how nasty the situation is. And that for the sake of their own survival, they may need to gather together with us. In fact, offering them their salvation is probably, yeah, sure. I don't think they're going to suddenly turn against us and join the enemy. They may be stubborn and hold out, but at least we can go see how they're doing, right? Yeah, I was really tempted to end the episode there, but no, I'm going on. Seeing that there is still some whose resistance is not broken, many more of the townsfolk rally to the sceptre as you march towards the barracks, until by the time you sight the banner of Antocidas, the golden sword and bulging money bag, you have a force nigh on 1,000 strong. Antocidas has defended the barracks cunningly, losing few men, but the mercenaries are ringed about with foes far outnumbering your combined forces. Yeah, but it's like lifting a siege, right? They're not expecting us to come in. Oh, okay, that's the next section. The bugler sounds the attack, and the call is answered from the barracks. Between you and Antocidas is an army of orcs, but they are led by a company of dark elves, tall, lithe, and graceful, almost too beautiful to be evil, but cankered of heart, shunned by all others of their race. The charge is led by the swordsmen. Will you join them in the vanguard and attack the dark elves, or hang back and watch? I'm sorry. Hang back and watch. Quan is all about doing the honourable, virtuous things. Even though we are an assassin, we will absolutely join them and press the attack against the Dark Elves to break the orcish numbers. Hanging back and watching just sounds like a disaster. You have excited them by the thought of striking a blow against the spawn of a rift, and you are fortunate that in the Bool members... What? That feels like the wrong section. Okay, one moment. 37. Was on from 33. 289, not 287. Right. Okay. I see Shield Maidens of Dharma there. The enemy is taken by surprise, thinking that the mercenaries were the only force still offering resistance. There is confusion and turmoil in the ranks. The fear of death before the walls were taken has already given way to relief. Thankful to be alive, the orcs are not prepared to face a new foe. The Dark Elves, however, are made of sterner stuff. The commander, a magnificently accoutred woman with waist-length raven tresses, has a black steel sword that has already taken the life of Antocidas' second-in-command this night. Will you order Gwyneth to charge the orcs and see if you can scatter them, or hurl a shuriken at the commander, then charge the Dark Elves? We need to take out the commanders who are holding the orcish morale together. not just try. We can't scatter the orcs yet. I think we need to take out a few commanders first to scatter them. Gwyneth leads a charge as you pull out your throwing star, and the Dark Elf commander points her black steel sword straight at her. If you would like to use inner force as you hurl the shuriken of the Dark Elf, yes, because the sword might hurl a lightning bolt or something at Gwyneth, and we want to be extra certain of this. Let's mark them both off. So, I'm sensing the sheer amount of inner force we had to use to get through the fights in the previous book is one reason for the inner force and shuriken being restored at the beginning of the book in the reprint. I'm not sure the health needs to be restored, but the fights are so tough we could have ended up with a very low number of endurance points indeed. Inner force has been used, Ninja Star has been thrown. The Dark Elf senses rather than sees the shuriken cleaving through the air towards her, and she brings up her black steel blade to parry. Her skill is great. The blade meets the spinning star of a clash, but the force of Quan the Redeemer is behind the five-pointed steel. There is a grinding noise as of some infernal engine, and the black steel blade shatters, covering her embossed armour in shards. There is a wail from the orcs, for the sword was their talisman of invincibility. Gwyneth's sword cleaves the unarmed commander's life, and the battle turns against your enemies, who soon break and run towards the city gates. Antocitus, a burly, scar-faced veteran, strides out of the barracks courtyard, where he has been fighting, kneels and beseeches you to lead him on to victory. Gwyneth gives the order to advance upon the palace. Can we clear the palace in the same episode we escaped from it? Quite possibly. Let's see. The din of pillage rolls unabated, but Gwyneth holds your troops to their purpose, and soon you are marching up Palace Row. The forces from the rift are taken by surprise. Soon you have gained the palace gardens, while many of the orcs and dark elves have been put to flight. As you're about to triumphantly make your entrance, Gwyneth draws your attention to a figure staring down with hatred from the battlement tower. It is the commander-in-chief of the forces from the rift, Shadazar, a dark elf you recognize from her likeness in the Tome of Maledictions in the palace library. The Tome of Maledictions is such a great title. She gathers her purple robe about her and begins to cast a spell. If you have a potion taken from a Vulcan imp and would like to throw it now, nope, no such thing. Maybe we should have gone down Palace Row first, and then gone off to the barracks. If you do not have a potion, or prefer not to drink it, since we have no such potion. And that I believe to be Shadazar. We're going to get auto-killed now because we didn't get the potion. Okay, I'm going to just scroll back up to check I went to the correct section there, because it looks like I did. I did. Okay. While you pause to consider what to do, 5 great trolls lumber out of the palace gates to spearhead a counterattack. Will you lead a charge against them, or slip past them and try to get inside the palace? 5 trolls. We had a hard enough time with 1. I think we need to get into the palace and shut this down quickly. And then hopefully the trolls... If we lead a charge against the trolls, we could just die. Right? So I'm going to try and slip past them. Battle is soon joined with the fearsome trolls, and they begin to take a heavy toll. You manage to slip unchecked behind when there is a great crack in the sky. Shadazar has called down a bolt of lightning from the heavens, which has not killed her troll, but has turned some of the mercenaries and shield maidens into charred husks. Make a fate roll, as the lightning may strike us too, I imagine. 7. We have a fate modifier of +1, So a 6+. We are lucky. I should have rolled 2d6 plus 1 and tried to get a 7, so we technically got an 8. Whew. Okay. In which case, trying to fight our way through 5 trolls, even if we had to fight, like, take a few hits, I don't think we would have fought to the death. I think we would have been like, you know, fight past, risk taking a few hits, like hit one, take one down, then get inside. The bolt of lightning causes one of the horses to rear and buck. It catches its hoof on a flower pot that breaks beneath it and uses the cover of the prancing stallion to reach the palace gates. You are past the startled dark elves who guard it before they know you are there, and you race on up the stairs to the battlemented tower. The only enemies you meet are orcs who have found the palace wine cellars and are now too drunk to hinder you. Soon you're at the top of a staircase and about to meet a powerful dark elf sorceress. This could not go well. Shadazar's purple robes billow in the breeze as she invokes another bolt of lightning from the heavens. She has her back to you and is intent upon her spell, only 5 meters away. Will you creep up behind her and use your garrote? She is focused. Hurl a shuriken at the back of her head, or call out to her in the hope that this will put her off her spell. If we sneak up on her to use the garrote, sneaking up is slow. We throw a shuriken, might get a kill. More importantly, the lightning bolt can damage our people significantly, and a ninja star to the back of the head is probably going to disrupt her spell. If we sneak up, and if she senses us, she could turn and hurl the lightning bolt at us. Throwing star it is. I really want to use the garrote, and we don't often get to do it, but still. Shadazar throws her black arms aloft. She is uttering the climactic phrase of the invocation of heavenly wrath as your shuriken buries itself in the back of her brain. She stumbles backwards to the edge, stumbles forwards to the edge of the turret, then tumbles over the battlements. She is still able to shriek a curse as she falls to her death, but she is speared upon the banner held by one of her orcs before the dying curse is finished. You appear at the battlements just as both sides look up to see who has tumbled the commander of the spawn of the rift to her death. There is a great moan from the forces of evil who break and run towards the city gates to the sound of delirious cheering from the citizens. You have delivered Irsmuncast from the forces of evil. Just like in the Lord's Prayer. Well, not exactly, just like in the Lord's Prayer. Your support from the people will be unwavering if you can govern wisely. And with that, I feel we have reached a good stopping point. 3 days after your great victory, yes, a good stopping point. Okay. I need to absolutely mark down that ninja star. We threw 1 at the troll. We threw 1 at the Dark Elf Commander. We threw 1 at the Dark Elf Witch to take her out. Oof. What a session. And we only had 1 auto kill as well. Successfully avoiding all non-auto kills in combat. We've done relatively well so far. Then again, early book, right? You don't want the early book to be too deadly. You want the threats to wear you down over time, to feel like you're sort of enduring, you're succeeding, you're holding out against the forces of evil as they try to crush you. Wow. That went really well. Now I suppose I've got to go off and record an intro. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Nice to be back once more, treading the way of the tiger. And there'll be more of this series, absolutely. We'll finish this book, take a few weeks break, get on to the next one as usual. So the plan is to do book 6 after book 5, then before book 7 we'll do book 0, the prequel, then go on to book 7. Yeah, I could have done the prequel first to begin with, but I decided not to. Alright guys, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate all of you. And I'm sure you're all powerful ninja warriors. Just don't come around my house and start beating me up when I'm trying to get some kip, okay? I could do with a sleep. Bye for now, guys.